Hey guys, welcome back. Houston Math Prep here. In this video, we're going to take a look at adding and subtracting rational expressions. Now, rational expressions are just fractional expressions, so we know that in order to add fractions, we have to have a common denominator. So taking a look at our first example, we want to add 5 over x plus 3 over x minus 1. So right now our fractions do not have a common denominator, so I'm going to multiply each one by the denominator of the other. So that means I'm going to multiply 5 over x by x minus 1 over x minus 1, and I'm going to multiply 3 over x minus 1 by x over x. All right, in my numerators, I'm going to distribute, so that's going to give me 5x minus 5 over. In my denominators, I'm going to go ahead and keep them factored. So I'm just going to write that as x times x minus 1 plus, in my numerator, 3 times x just makes 3x over, again, x times x minus 1. So now we notice that we have a common denominator. So we'll keep that common denominator and add our numerators. Combining like terms here, 5x plus 3x gives me 8x, and then I still have my minus 5. So my result from adding 5 over x plus 3 over x minus 1 is 8x minus 5 over x times x minus 1. All right, let's see if we can do it again. This time we want to add x over x squared minus 9 plus 3 over x squared minus 3x. Now here I can see that I don't already have a common denominator, but it looks like my denominators could factor. So I'd like to factor them and see if they already share anything. So first I'm just going to rewrite with my denominators factored. So x squared minus 9 is a difference of squares. I know that that factors to x plus 3 times x minus 3. X squared minus 3x, I see that that has a GCF, or greatest common factor, of x. And when I take that out, I have x minus 3. So here, when I go to get a common denominator, I notice that both denominators already have an x minus 3 factor. So that means I'm only going to multiply by the factor from the opposite that they are missing. So I'm going to multiply my first fraction, or my left fraction, by x, since that is the factor it's missing from the other. And my right hand, or second fraction, it already has the x minus 3, but it's missing the x plus 3. So I'm going to multiply by x plus 3 over x plus 3. So multiplying straight across, x times x makes x squared over. In my denominator, I'm going to go ahead and leave those in factored form. So I'm just going to write it as x times x plus 3 times x minus 3 plus, in my numerator here, I need to distribute my 3. So x times 3 is 3x, and 3 times 3 is 9. So x times x plus 3 times x minus 3. All right, so now I can see that I do have a shared denominator, a common denominator of x times x plus 3 times x minus 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and just combine my numerators. Here I don't have any like terms, so this is just going to be x squared plus 3x plus 9. Now here, I do have a quadratic in the top, so I need to think about, could that factor, and could I potentially do any simplifying? So when I think about numbers that multiply to give me 9, my options are 1 and 9, and 3 and 3. No combinations there are going to add up to give me 3, which means this does not factor. So here is my fully simplified answer. Okay, and one more, we want to look at a subtraction problem. Now subtraction works pretty much the same way. We're just going to make sure that we get a common denominator and then combine the numerators using the operation of subtraction instead of addition. So again, I noticed that one of my denominators will factor. So let me factor that and see if I have anything shared. So x squared minus x minus 30, that's going to factor to x minus 6 times x plus 5. And then we're subtracting 1 over x plus 5. So I notice here that we are sharing a factor of x plus 5 in our denominators. So only my second fraction is actually missing anything to have that common denominator. So I'm going to multiply my my second fraction by x minus 6 over x minus 6 to get my common denominator. So my first fraction, my left hand, is staying the same. And my second one, distributing my 1, that's going to be just x minus 6 over x minus 6 times x plus 5. Okay, now my fractions share a common denominator, so I'll go ahead and copy it down to keep it. And now I'm going to combine my numerators using subtraction. So I'm going to have x minus x, which just makes 0. And then, so we can think 0 minus negative 6, that's going to make a positive 6. So I have positive 6 over x minus 6 times x plus 5. Let's see that written a different way just so we make sure we're comfortable with that. That's going to be x minus 6. Another way of thinking about that is we could distribute that negative 1 to make that x minus x plus 6. These guys zero out and leave us with 6. That's how we got that 6 in the numerator. Alright guys, that does it for this video on adding and subtracting rational expressions. We'll catch you in the next one.